Hello everyone, my name is Moses and you're welcome to Stable Up Farms. On today's episode in our farming series, we're going to be talking about the full process of planting our soybeans. Soybeans is very important to us because we have a livestock farm and soybeans is one of the very key ingredients, one of the key foods needed by our livestock. Soybeans is also very in demand in the market, so it's a very good crop to have and sell, and then for our own personal consumption also. So we are heavily going to be planting soybeans this season, and want to discuss with you on some of the methods that we're going to use in this planting process. So we're going to focus on three key crops this season. We're going to focus on soybeans, especially in the context of this video, and then we're also going to plant maize and we're going to plant rice. So we have processes for all of these in our videos, so just check our page, check our YouTube page, and you will see videos for those other plants also. So let's get right into it. So for our soybeans, you can follow me into one of our warehouses. We have ensured that we are prepared for certain practices that will help us get the best yield for our soybeans. What are some of these practices? Plant spacing, good soil texture, improved seed variety, obviously planting practices, spacing between the holes and between the ridges, inoculation of our soybeans, fertilizer application of our soybeans, herbicide usage for our soybeans, etc. etc. So you can see there's so many things we're going to talk about in this video. So for the purpose of not wasting any more time, let's get right into it. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is seeds. If you have good seeds, you have solved half of your problems already, right? Ensure to get very good seeds. So we have purchased some of our soybean seeds. Where is that? This is rice. Oh yeah, there we go. So I am going to put up the name of this variety on this page as you're watching. It's a TGX something. So I'll put that in there for those who are interested. It's very good for the region we're going to be planting in. We're going to be planting in in Taraba, which is kind of like the middle belt of the country. So that is the seeds. That's the variety of soybeans we're going to be using. What else are we going to do? We are going to ensure that on the day of planting these soybeans, some practices are going to go into it. And what are these practices? There we go. So this is called Nodumax legume inoculant. What we're going to do is that on the day of planting, we are going to inoculate our soybean seeds. So what does this mean? This is a solution that is going to help ensure our soybean fixes its own nitrogen, so that right from the get-go, the seeds are of the best possible quality. There's enough nitrogen to go around for the seeds. They grow well, you get good harvest, you're happy. So this is something that we are not going to joke with. This is about 100 grams, and this should inoculate about 10 kg of our soybeans. So you just calculate according to how many kg of soybeans you're going to be planting, and you get your Nodumax. So for those who don't know this, you can just do a little more research on Nodumax and you see how it's going to help your soybeans. So on the day of planting, we inoculate our soybeans with our Nodumax and we plant. However, before planting, there are some practices that we are going to adhere to. And just like in our other video for our maize, it's going to be the same thing here. We're going to be going with some usages of herbicides. The first thing is for pre-planting practice. We're going to apply about three different herbicides throughout the course of soybean planting process. So for the pre-planting, that's pre-planting, pre-emergent and post-emergent herbicide application. So for pre-planting herbicide application, we're going to use Roundup. So Roundup, we're going to apply it, and then our tractor is going to, plow the land, and this is really going to go into the soil and do away with the weeds, so that our farm is weed free when we are ready to plant our soybeans. So we'll plow the land, we'll apply this on the land, we'll plow it. We do that a few weeks to our planting, and then when we're ready to plant, we bring our tractor, we harrow the land to break down the soil into fine particles. Then we ridge the land. After we create ridges on our land, we are then ready to plant. We just recently purchased seed planters. We're going to test it out and see if it's going to work for our soybeans, so that we can be able to plant with our seed planter to ensure a smooth way of planting that also follows the recommendation. So how are we going to plant on our ridges? Number one, each planting hole, we're going to leave about 10 centimeters. And this is where the planter comes in. It helps you achieve that without stressing too much. So per hole, we want to plant about 3 seeds of soybeans per hole, and each spacing is going to be about 10 centimeters. And on each ridge, we want to plant two rows on each ridge, right? So plant on this side and on this side on the same ridge, all 10 centimeters apart. Now, between rows, we'll leave about 75 centimeters between each row. There's one row here, there's another row here, and in between it is 75 centimeters. The reason for this is to give enough room for air, for sunlight, for whatever the case may be. These are just the recommended spacing for our soybeans. Now, for our pre-emergent herbicide, which was supposed to have been applied a day after our planting, let's talk about that. As you can see, we have lots of herbicides here. We're going to be planting a lot of crops this year, so you just have to invest in herbicides, very quality, good herbicides from trusted vendors. Ensure you purchase very good herbicide, because some people dilute these right before selling, so make sure you buy from a trusted source. So the pre-emergent herbicide we're going to use for our soybeans is Stomp 455 CS. As you can see, this is the pre-emergent herbicide we're going to use for our soybeans. So we are going to apply this a day after planting our soybeans. This is going to ensure our soybeans grows weed free and it does not compete for nutrients with the weeds. So, like I mentioned earlier, Roundup for our pre-planting, Stomp for our pre-emergent, and Raptor for our post-emergent. So you can see this is Raptor. So we're going to have 3 applications: our pre-planting Roundup, our pre-emergent Stomp, and our post-emergent will be Raptor. So this ensures you end up not even having to weed your farm at all with these herbicides. You just check on your farm periodically to make sure there are no weeds, but we're fairly certain that if you use your herbicides for all 3 periods, that's pre, that's pre-planting, pre-emergent, and post-emergent, you wouldn't even have to weed on your farm. So that's just something for you to think of. For those who may not be able to afford all of this, manual labor always comes in where you weed, right? So that is it for herbicide usage. Now, what do we do next? Next is the fertilizer application. How do you ensure that your soybeans gets the best kind of fertilizer on your farm? Well, for us, we're going to be using NPK 114614, right? So this agrovert, and what this means is this fertilizer is going to provide about 11 nitrogen, 46 phosphorus, and 14 potassium, right? Now, the reason the nitrogen is so little here is because soybeans produces its own nitrogen, right? It fixes its own nitrogen, so not much of it is needed. However, it needs lots of phosphorus, and that is where this 46 comes in, right? And then the potassium. So this is really going to help give our soybeans the needed nutrients to boost its growth and for you to get the best kind of harvest, right? So when this is going to be applied, we'll do a video that gives a full breakdown on what this is done. So this is the fertilizer we are going to be using. Now, I don't need to mention this, but still, we just have to, for those who don't already know, always make sure your farm is weed free, right? We have some weeders. We have a brush cutter, a machine that helps weed our farm, but it's currently on the farm. This is our warehouse. It's in a different location, so I can't show you in the video, or I could just take a picture and post it right here for you to see. That is what we're going to be using to ensure we have several of those, and our staff will just go periodically and weed our farm to make sure that we don't have any weeds. So I am approaching one of our storage rooms at the farm, and I would just like to show you right here in these cartons are the knapsack sprayers. So we have the Jacto 20 liters knapsack sprayers. We have about 10 of these. You can just see here, and this line under is still the same Jacto. So all of these herbicide applications I was talking about, we are going to be using these knapsack sprayers. And then I was also talking about weeding, right? I was talking about keeping your farm weed free. And if you cannot afford to purchase all these herbicides, you should just try to make sure you have one of these, the weeders. This is a 4-stroke weeder, and it does an amazing job tilling the ground, turning the ground, and weeding, taking out the weeds on your farm. Again, if you cannot afford this, I think we have about 10 of these also. If you cannot afford this, then you do it the manual way, right? With the hoe, you just make sure your farm is weed free. The reason why most of these machines we have, the reason why we have 10 each of many of these machines is because we have about 15 permanent staff, and 10 of those do the heavy lifting with the machines and basically any kind of heavy duty kind of work. So we have 10 planters that we're going to use to plant our crops. These same planters are going to be used for fertilizer applications. We have 10 brush cutters, the weeders that we use to weed the farm. We have 10 knapsack sprayers that we use to apply our herbicides, things like that. So you'll notice that most of the time I am showing you some of these machines, they are usually 10, and this is the reason. Now, by the time you are ready to harvest, this is a little trick that I would like to mention, because many people don't know this. Well, probably do, but still, let's mention it. So when you are harvesting your soybeans, ensure not to pull the whole plant from the ground, right? I would suggest that you just hold your plant and then you cut it off. You know how rice is harvested? You do the same thing for your soybeans. Now, why am I saying that? Like I mentioned earlier, soybeans is very rich in nitrogen. You want the roots of your soybeans to remain in the soil and fix the soil for you. You will notice that by the time next year you are planting something else, or next season you're planting something else on your farm is already very rich because of the remaining roots of the soybeans that were left by you when you are harvesting. So try to ensure that it's a little more work for you, but I mean, for the fact that you are going to get a richer soil, I think is worth it. So when you are harvesting your soybeans, hold the plant and cut it off from the bottom. Do not pull out the whole plant so that the roots also come out, right? Leave the roots as is in the soil, and the roots will mix with the soil and add lots of nitrogen to your soil and makes your next planting season a little bit richer. So that's a little point of the day that I'd like to add. So these are a few practices that we are going to be working with to ensure that we get very good yield for our soybeans. We are targeting about 3 tons plus. We're trying to be very conservative, but we think 3 tons is very doable per hectare, and we're going to be farming on about 30 hectares of land for our soybeans, between 30 to 40 hectares, depending on what our seeds are going to give us, but definitely nothing less than that. So we'll let you know as time goes on. Every single process of these that I've explained, we'll be showing it to you in the videos. So ensure to subscribe so that you see as this process goes on for us. And if there's anyone watching here that feels they have a better method of doing this, we are open to hearing your ideas. We all want to learn. We all want to have better yields on our farm, and no man has all of the knowledge, right? So we work hand in hand with our agronomists to ensure that we adhere to the best planting practices, but we're always welcome to hearing your ideas and your recommendation. So for now, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you again.